Hello, everybody. Hello, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. superior position. But a win is a win. Let's try one more game. Well, let's get it. Not just one more game. Let's play this game and then as many as it takes to get another win. Alright. Thank you. That was a good game. Got my blood going. Found a nice tactic towards the end. Great game. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to probably review this game. I'm going to review this game move by move. Reasonably accurate. I made one miss and one blunder. Other than that, I'm looking at mostly a tolerable accuracy. Let's go over this game. Widen the number of lines to 5 and increase the maximum time to 10. Also, turn the heat off, the HVAC off. And so that might help you understand me better when I'm reviewing this game, while I'm reviewing this game. It's 82-77. That's the accuracy. That's okay. That's fine. But let's review the game move by move. Knight to c3. Most often black will play knight to f6 for the 4 knights, but there are a ton of other really cool openings that can occur here. Torch has these other openings as maybe not as good for black, so recommending knight f6, but these are still book. This can be a little bit of a jolt. Some players playing bishop c5 will have played bishop c5 not expecting knight takes e5, which is probably the best response to bishop c5. And then, of course, white will regain the material via this fork. Black has a lot of options how to give back the material he's taken from white. Bishop b4 puts a pin on my knight. It's not the best response. I'm going to recapture the material immediately on e5. And now white has an extra pawn. But we're not. I'm not all that, gaga about the material part of having the extra pawn. This pawn, it might take some time. Black might waste some time picking it up, but not all that much else. What I am gaga about is better control of the center. And I guess the e5 pawn that white owns contributes towards that. I was thinking here for black, bishop takes c3 and just lay into the fact later in the middle game and possibly the end game that white has a horribly bad pawn structure. White's pawn structure is just doubled pawns here in the center that are pretty darn bad, and doubled pawns on the c file that are even worse. So I don't know. I was thinking of that. Sometimes, if you make your opponent's pawn structure bad enough, it can make up for a 1-point material deficit. And it actually could even swing in your own favor at about the same, about a 1-point advantage based on positional considerations. Anyway, my opponent played Queen e7. It's a good move. He's probably going to get this pawn. I chose to defend, and I did with my c1 bishop. We would want to think maybe f4. You always want to consider this. It might not be practically the best move. Torch loves it. Where was it? Torch loves it here. By pawn to f4. is another way to defend the pawn on e5. I might play this in a tournament because there's this temptation for black to give a check on h4, and then white can play pawn to g3 and have this really strong pawn chain on the dark squares on the king side, and then even not on the dark squares but contributing towards that strength is the pawn on e4 as well. Bishop, the bishop might be well placed on g2 normally, but here no, because of the pawn on e4. So I don't know. f4 looks tempting. Torch likes it. We got some kind of grooves in the chessboard here, the mini chessboard. So yeah, ensuing just a few sort of like normal moves. This d6 is a good trying to do something about white's e5 pawn. You know, I might be coming around on this e5 pawn after all. Might be a stronger asset for white than I thought. Black's giving it as much time as both queen e7 and d6. D6 is the type of move where you can hear the opponent's thoughts saying, I can't win that pawn by force, but I don't like it there, so let's get rid of the dang thing and play d6 as a move like that. Just tempt white to capture. I think that's what I did, capture on d6. And then, black has made a concession. There's a good concession there. Capturing on d6 again. And now, while white has 1 point ahead in material, is 2.7 points on Torch's, I'll call it the radar. 2.7 points on Torch's radar. But why? We have the extra pawn, that we know. But also, central presence. White has better central presence, right? And it's one piece more developed than black, which contributes towards initiative in this case. So also initiative. On the clock, my opponent has only played 30 seconds, where I've played 1 minute and 3 seconds, so I have to be aware of that. That's an ongoing issue with my chess play. It's called, people call it, people like me in terms of chess, as time pressure addicts. At first, well, he's an addict? What's he doing at the chess club? He's addicted to time pressure. He probably overthinks opening moves, or if a position gets complex, he tries to find the absolute very, very best move instead of this will lead to a win kind of thing. I'm a time pressure addict. Bishop to d3 was interesting. This is the new more gravity in terms of chess play. Bishop to e3. Yeah, bishop to e3. Not the kind of move I would have played even 3 years ago. Right? We're going to clear the arrows here. And then I would have played bishop to b5 check most often and just try to trade off into an endgame, and then win some sort of pawn and piece endgame. I would have played bishop c4 here and tried to get my queen to f3 and put some pressure on black's f7 pawn. But bishop d3 says, we got a lot of things going for us, like an extra pawn. The position is stable. If I were black, what would I want? What would I not want white to play? So I thought bishop d3. So this bishop is not active, and he cuts off some of the white queen's control of the center, but he's holding down some key pawns. The central pawn on e4. The pawn on c2 isn't key, but he's holding that down as well, and he's protected in return by the c2 pawn. It's extremely stable control of really white side of the center. So they can't get all crazy about how much control the center this is, but there's some. And then the knight on c3 is now relieved of babysitting e4 and can jump to d5. And now we're talking hitting the queen with tempo. There's certain types of forks that may be lurking nearby. on if the knight plays knight to c7 check, supposing the queen has taken up an aggressive post on g5 or anything. All right, so this is bishop d3 is a not it, bishop d3 is not dynamic, but it leads to dynamic opportunities for white here. The big thing is that the knight no longer has to babysit or keep constant watch over e4. We might want him there anyway because of knight f6 or even the possibility of f5 or d5. To be honest, I hadn't considered those possibilities during the game, but I like the idea of d5 as an outpost, earning tempo and initiative against the queen, aggressive fork and tactical possibility. So that's built into bishop d3. That's built into bishop d3. So had some kind of better opportunity. The computer doesn't like it. Look, yeah, Torch does not like it because look at bishop to b5 check is the recommended move here. We could have made that move right away, and this knight would be back on g8. So the Torch very much does not like bishop d3. I do. Torch does not. Anyway, sometimes you play to be consistent with your plan, and this castling kingside is consistent with that plan. Safety, safety. And safety here with the king as well. Right? And we want to look at how tight White's pieces and most of his pawns are. What is there a loose? There's this loose pawn on b2. That's it, and that pawn can be covered in a number of ways without too much worry. But White's pieces are very tight. Black's pieces look also pretty tight. Because he's going to castle kingside, so this isn't that big of a worry. I'd say the weakest piece or pawn on the board has got to be the d6 pawn. Armed and dangerous, and too many can bend us. Straight up, we know injured us, label us notorious. Queen to f3. This is just a good developing moves. Knight to h5. This is the type of move I used to make in this position. It's not that bad. It's tempting visually if you don't happen to see your opponent's queen, and it's aggressive, trying to settle into perhaps f4 with calling it a temporary outpost. It's not guarded by a pawn but by his queen, and who knows, some imagination, we could see the queen on g5 and then the queen on g2 backed up by this knight, and then a b checkmate. But more recently here, instead of what my opponent played, knight to h5, which is still, like I say, a fine move, just get your rooks connected. Alright, you want those rooks to be connected, and simple development. Bishop to e6 is very strong, very solid there. Don't have to overdo it. Depending on what white does, maybe next black could play h6 and have a luft so that there are no back rank checkmates. Right? A slower, more calm style I've been adapting. I've been adapting and adopting. I've been adapting to and adopting a slower, calmer style play. Right, so this is exactly what my opponent's looking for, is this strange-ish temporary outpost on f4. I played knight to e2, c2, queen takes b2. Some sort of reasonably complicated line there. I'm gonna try to get one of the there's these marks on the board. I don't like that. G takes h3. Queen to g3 just in complete opposition. Part of White's plan here is after the miss, knight takes h3. Of course, we're capturing. I had 3 points of material, but White wants to show that the missing g pawn can just be patched, right? We just patch together against that missing g pawn. Knight g3. You know, for right now, or it's probably more applicable when the queens were on the board. Just try to patch that problem together. That might have been an error. Perhaps I was to play f takes g3. Sure. The bishop coming in rather quickly, but that same thing can happen after knight takes g3. Now White has the extra piece, and I'm going to put pressure on the g file, as well as the g7 pawn has 2 attackers. Knight d5 is a good try at this fork on f6. Black is going to notice that and find it and take remedy, and rook to e5 does exactly that. I'm trying to bully Black's rook around here a bit, rather than give up this great outpost. This knight is a superstar. This is the strongest piece on the board right now, and these pieces are all actually pretty active in what's going on. So the knight on d5 is really doing double time. You catch Black sort of shuffling his rook back and forth, and we're going to break through now on the g file. The bishop captures on d5, and that's shown as a question mark. It kind of plays into a forced checkmate. However, it's not a bad move pragmatically. We stand here. What's Black gonna do? The rooks would be sacrificing even more material than Black already doesn't have. The pawns that could push him are off the board. There's no knights on the board. There's no dark squared bishop for Black on the board. So, you know, for the foreseeable future, the idea is probably bishop takes d5. Unfortunately for Black, that does head into this forced checkmate. I don't know if White has a checkmate in 3. Let's see if I found it. No, but I found something good enough. Let's finish this game out. First, actually, if I may, to try again the checkmate in 3. Knight to d6 is just making more complications than necessary. We'll capture on f5. Then just rook to g5. Let's go back. Here we go. Check and checkmate because the bishop assists in defending the attacking piece. So that would have been the clear way to do this. Instead, what did I play in the game? This book that keeps this rook pinned, but it's not. It's bad. I was on time pressure, and it was bad. So. All right. The other game, that was this game. The other game, my opponent resigned in a position where they had a moderate lead. My opponent had the advantage, but resigned. Interested to see how accurate this same game is with the forced mate correctly played out. So we can see how accurate the game ends up being. Very accurate. Very accurate with the correct moves at the end. Alright, that's interesting. The main blunder was on move 15. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. I'm More Gravity. Have a great day.